Bastrop, Texas is well known for its rich history, natural beauty, and an authentic vibe that you just can't find anywhere else. The city of Bastrop is proud to bring you Overheard at City Hall, a podcast aimed at bringing you, our community, inside the walls of City Hall to get to know the hardworking men and women of the city of Bastrop who wake up every day to serve you, our citizens. Join us as we discuss the many topics that on any given day may be overheard at City Hall.
Hello, Bastrop. Welcome to yet another episode of Overheard at City Hall. That's the official podcast of the city of Bastrop. And today, I'm really looking forward to this. We're meeting with Colin Guerra, our public information manager. Colin, during these podcasts, is usually behind the camera.
Behind the curtain.
Yeah, acting as our executive producer and then as part of the team, the really terrific team that edits these things and distributes them out through the World Wide Web and other avenues. So, terrific job with all of that.
Thank you.
This is going to be our final episode of our first season.
Our season finale.
Yeah, so,
right.
So Colin, how do you think that first season's going?
Exceeded my expectations, Paul.
So that means you had pretty low expectations?
I don't know that I had many expectations, but you filled the role of host quite naturally.
No, thanks.
I don't know whether you gave us it's like the pool shark move where you're like, I don't know, I've never been a host, and then you just cruise right in. So impressed by that, been very natural. I'm sure you get solicited to host other podcasts.
It hadn't happened yet, Colin. I'll let you know when first solicitation comes.
Well, thanks for having me, and yeah, this is exciting. Much more comfortable behind the curtain myself, but
okay,
here we are.
So, public information manager, right? So you've been with the city for a few years.
For just over 6 years.
Right, and the public information manager thing happened a few months ago.
Yes.
So how's that part of your life going?
It's fast and furious and keep a pretty full plate, but it's going good, exciting. Yeah, I've been with the city 6 years. I came into the city in the IT department, but from day one, it was to kind of start down this path of having a communications effort. The department kind of split off from IT, and I think initially we were called multimedia department, and that word still kicks around, but kind of been part of this evolution of communication effort from the city. You know, not all cities of a certain size are going to have a communication department, and then you graduate to sort of that level, and Bastrop, I'm just an honor to be a part of Bastrop's evolving and graduating to that level. So.
Yeah, you know, this is pretty unique for cities our size, and credit to the city council for the sincere priority they put on effective two-way communication and the extent to which they're willing to put resources into, hey, let's make sure we're communicating well, high quality, effectively, that we're listening. I mean, we can talk forever about what all of that means, and we've done some things here to make sure we do that well, and reorganizing, changing your job description a little bit is part of that. Creating our communications and special events team, an internal team that helps us get the word out internally and externally, has been a part of that too.
Yeah, the strength of that is sort of the communications effort, having feelers in all the departments.
Right, yeah. A message we try to send is, hey, we're all in the communications business. We're all in the messaging business. Right.
Absolutely. We'll talk about all the different sort of media that we communicate over, but we're communicating when we're talking to somebody at the coffee shop, and I get questions asked all the time about subjects that I'm certainly not the subject matter expert in.
Right.
But here I am in a position to speak informally, but on behalf of the city, and I know that happens to all of us. We get asked the question about what's going on with this project or this initiative, and here we have to speak for it, and so the whole organization has to kind of stay finger on the pulse.
The whole organization needs to have the finger on the pulse, and the more we communicate about all of that, the better. But then somebody has to be ultimately in charge of managing that process and making sure that happens efficiently and effectively. One of the things, and you might want to expound on this a little bit, one of the things we did a few months ago was actually create something we called a communication and messaging strategy, right? Mm-hmm. And that's something we've distributed to the entire workforce about, here are some basic concepts to keep in mind, not just when you're standing up in front of somebody making a presentation, right? But when you're out in public doing your thing, you're sending messages. And as you just said, it might happen at the coffee shop. People have opportunities to speak about the city, and we want people to have a general sense of what's going on and how to portray that.
Yeah, and that communications strategy, we played with the word foundation for a while. Right. It's a foundational document that several of us collaborated on. Right. I know you led us down that path, and it's so effective to have. And it's a robust enough list that I can't memorize it all, but it's just about telling the truth, and it's about. If you're crafting a message, hold it up against this, and does it live up to all these things? And it really kind of helps you sometimes make a decision of how to say a thing. It's say it straightforward and say it in such a way that it's clear. And
well, that's a perfect summary. It is all about the truth and speaking to the truth, even when the truth hurts, right? Yeah. We don't spin or talk our way out of bad news. That's not our job. Mm-hmm. And the ultimate objective of all of it is to be trusted, right? To behave in a trustworthy fashion, sincerely so and respectfully so, and all of those words are in there. But it's about making sure how we operate and what we say, what we present, how we are is truthful and trustworthy.
Absolutely.
Which is a big part of what attracted me to the prospects of you being in that role of public information manager, right? You do have a gift of finding out enough about a thing in all of its component and moving parts, and are pretty effective at thoughtfully getting to, okay, what is it that is important here that people need to hear? And there's a wide range of things, right? There's, one of the things we message about the most is things like traffic conditions, right? Road closures, significant accidents on 71, anything to do with changes in plans for 71 construction, right? During a flood event, hey, you can't go down this road anymore. Then, that stuff has to happen pretty quickly. Some of it's kind of a complicated message, right? Yes. So we've asked you to put maps on the fly, maps together on the fly to get that out there on the city's website and Facebook page.
Yep.
Right.
I appreciate some of those things you said, and I agree. I have a certain fascination with how complicated things can be. Just something that might seem simple on the surface. Right. And even if it's, again, a subject that I'm not any kind of expert in, it's like, wow, okay, gosh, I didn't think of it that way. And the average citizen, say, may not see that angle. And one thing that I kind of try to strive towards is just a simple concept of understanding. And I think that people can be mad at something, it can be bad news or something, but if they understand it, we can all move forward together, right? But if they don't understand it, then things break down. And so I get to come at it. It's kind of effective because I get to come at it as a layperson a lot of times. The planning department's doing something. I don't know the first thing about it, so I get to put myself in the shoes of who's eventually going to hear one of our communications or see it or read it. And I get to say, okay, I know nothing about this. What do I need to kind of know to build up to the message we're ultimately trying to give? And so that's kind of my process of getting my head around things that are often way more complicated.
Well, and that's great. And we pull back the curtain here a little bit. There have been times when I'm saying, like, Colin, we got to get this message out.
Stop asking questions.
and man, you're overthinking it. But no, I do appreciate and I do understand the value of not overthinking it, but having the ability to anticipate the variables and the questions and and to have a sense of how will this be received, interpreted, read by our audience.
Our audience.
Right.
It's a symptom, love it or hate it, for better or for worse, the social media sort of era. Those of us who are kind of glued to this stuff, you have sort of that comment section in your head. You have like a make-believe comment section. You think, what are they going to say to this message? And you get to run any message through them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just need to do that quickly. Right.
Yes.
And so those kinds of messages that we crank out and need to be nimble and thoughtful at the same time about. But then there are the more far-reaching messages where it's really, really important that the affected public understand what it is we're trying to accomplish and the implications of it. And a great recent example, real-time example there, are the amendments to the sign code that the City Council just recently adopted. Several elements to those amendments and how the city will eventually enforce those requirements. And the trick is to give those applicants and sign owners enough information that they know what's going on and can deal with it effectively, and access to the details. Right?
That's right. Yeah. So many things we do. Sign code's a great example, but it translates to all of it. There's source material. There's the council packet, or there's the actual sign code. So the sign code, I think, is 37 pages long. That's the source material. It's kind of like the law. It's like opening up the...
It is the law.
The law is the law. It's
not
like the law.
Yeah, it is
the
actually law.
And so there's your source material, and what we try to do with communication is to almost, in a sense, show the tip of the iceberg, or to sort of show someone the big high points. But eventually, they're going to have to end up in the 37-page document if you're really looking to fully understand something. If we could have fit it onto 2 pages, we would have. But it is that, there's that many factors. But we try to highlight the big points and get a general understanding, and just lead, and like you said, make it accessible. So many things we do. We're communicating. You may be communicating to people who don't even know they want to hear this message. Or I like the term you used a second ago, the affected public. There may be people who are going to be affected by something, but they may not be plugged into us. They may not be followers on the page. They may not be people who visit our website regularly. And so reaching out and getting their attention, that's an act in itself. Social media, sometimes we send things through the old mails, with the stamp on it, and all these things.
Well, we have to fight the temptation to put all of our communication eggs in the social media basket. Yeah. We know that doesn't reach everybody. Yeah. It reaches a lot of people. It reaches the most vocal people. And it's super efficient, but it doesn't meet everybody, and that's a big trick. And another thing I appreciate about what you bring to the table, and you were just speaking to this, we need to understand the community, right? And you do, and I appreciate that about you. You've been involved. You're not just. I mean, you're a super busy guy. You've got a giant family, and you've got a busy job at work. But you're out there at events. People know you. People know you as a musician, as an accomplished editor, right? And so, and they trust you. I think you're eminently likable, and so that's all very positive, and puts you in a position where you can come back to me and kind of articulate, okay, well, here's how we need to manage this message so that it's the most effective. Right.
Still getting to know the community every day.
Sure.
Never feel like I fully understand it. I wouldn't be, so bold as to ever say that. But yeah, I've gotten to know this community, and there's.
Right.
I'm sure every community you could say this about, but this is the community I'm concerned about. But it's not a one-size-fits-all or even close to it. In fact, you've got groups who have very much opposing values. This group wants to see values climb, and this group wants to see things stay where they were. And to speak to both sides of that with the same message, it goes back to that messaging foundation: is say the truth. And
so, what do you think citizens of Bastrop in the fall of 2021 need to know about Bastrop and the decisions we're making and Bastrop's future?
Need to know. Well, if I had a minute with somebody or 5 minutes with somebody, I had no idea what they did or didn't know. One thing is, I'll say we've got a dynamic city council, a city council that's got a personality. I mean, they're not just checking the box, and they're not just rubber stamping or anything like that. Yeah. They have a personality, and I think great vision, great care for the town. I mean, I think they're pretty top notch, really. And so to instill that on a citizen, to say, hey, you may not be paying attention, but if you were to pay attention, you'll see that you've got a dynamic group there that is. Again, they're not just doing what City Government 101 might say. They're looking at it critically and saying, how about we do it like this? This is actually pretty good way to, and just I'm saying that kind of holistically. A big thing to give an example there is the code rewrite, the B3, the building Bastrop codes. That's a city council who sort of grabbed the bull by the horns and said, let's take it this way.
And let's do it the right way.
And think about what is that right way, and define some values that are, this whole idea of authentic Bastrop, that is an exciting, beautiful thing.
Yes, it is.
To say it's not just any development ever, whatever happens. If there's money attached, it's a good thing.
We're going to grow. We can be a little selective. We don't have to lose a sense of who we are.
Authentic Bastrop.
That came from the city council.
I think that's something that a citizen should be proud to.
That's a terrific answer, because and something you and I talk about. When I asked you that question, what does a Bastrop citizen need to know, and kind of lumping all citizens in the same category, but an important dynamic out there is just how many new residents there are, and how that trend is going to continue over the next few years. People who move to Bastrop for all kinds of reasons, and maybe chief among those reasons is they've got a job in Austin, and relative to buying property on the Interstate 35 corridor, while prices are going up here, it's still relatively less expensive to do that here, or somewhere between here and in Austin, in Bastrop County, right? And they don't necessarily know what it means or the value behind authentic Bastrop. They don't know about the river. They don't know about downtown, right? And so they don't know about the state parks, all of that.
Right.
And so I think we are at risk if we don't do a good job of making sure that information, that history, is available to them, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a care we need to take in how we approach all of that, right? Because we're staff, right? This is the council manager form of government. You can't send a political message or a message that sounds political. I mean, we can say this is a terrific city council, and it is, and we appreciate and benefit from their visionary, non-rubber stamping kind of approach, right? But we don't cross the line into endorsing candidates for council, right? But yeah, yeah, good answer. That's and a priority needs to continue to be making sure we don't forget about the new residents.
That is a very important and other side of that coin is you got people here who've grown up here multiple generations and all that, but the new resident
who are typically plugged in.
That's true.
They're already there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're the ones who serve on our boards and commissions. Those are the ones who
Largely
are.
so.
They know who you are. They know who I am. They know how the system works.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think to stay healthy, we want to make sure newer residents can avail themselves of the same avenues.
Oh, absolutely. People want to live in authentic places. People want to live in places that have an identity.
No doubt.
And we do, but
right.
you put a good emphasis on being sure the chances to connect with it are there, and we keep at that. It's awesome to be part of an organization that values that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, first season of Overheard at City Hall. So what should our viewers and listeners look forward to in season 2? What are we going to emphasize?
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but we kind of just dove into this thing. We didn't have a page after page of strategy, and
there was no strategy.
We didn't study a lot of other podcasts, really. I think we all kind of, when we had this
Why
idea,
would we do that? We're Bastrop.
No, that's right. We knew we could handle this, but in doing it over a few months here and a handful of episodes in, we've probably learned a few things, and you know, we're gonna go into our season 2 with sort of some renewed vision and energy. One thing that we have been emphasizing behind the scenes as we talk about this is, we've talked to a lot of the department directors, which makes perfect sense. These are the folks who see the bigger picture, and they're plugged into to everything. But we've put a big emphasis on wanting to hear from the boots on the ground. Right. Here in season 2, we'll probably hear from some directors, but we really want to get some people in the hot seat here who we're going to hear from a whole different side of the organization. The
guys making the wastewater treatment plant work, for example. Yeah. One objective that I don't think will change, the podcast has been about introducing city employees to the community, right? That really proud of this organization and the people who work in it, and I think the more people get to know I think, as Rebecca says in the promo, the hardworking men and women who work for the city, that's only positive, because it's a great group. It really is, and that should give people a sense of comfort to know that their tax dollars are going towards the salaries of people who really do care about doing a good job.
100%. I had an interesting conversation with a friend last week. This is a little out of left field, but I think I'll try to tie it back in. He said to me, and I just loved his thought, everybody likes to be positive. Positivity is a great thing. It helps us move forward in life. But he said something that was a little bit negative, but I just loved the truth to it. He said, there's nothing more American than getting together after work and complaining about your job. Pretty good. Right? Pretty good. I thought, there's some refreshing honesty to that. Right. And he was talking about it from the perspective of being a manager, where everybody that's working for you, they're going to go home and complain about what you're all doing, because it's just what you do. You just go home and blow off a little steam, and we've all had things that frustrated us through the day. But he's like, how do you create a culture in your workplace that at least is aware of that and tries to combat that, or maybe gets rid of it entirely? Maybe that's naive. You'll never fully get rid of it. But I just thought that was just kind of a cool, refreshing. There's nothing more American than complaining about your job. And then so where I was going to maybe tie that in is second place of nothing more American than sort of distrusting and complaining about your government. And here we are doing our due diligence and serving and trying to do the best we can, and I think showing the personalities behind those roles to our community. You can complain and all that, but here's the guy who's waking up in the morning and busting his butt doing this, and he's frustrated by stuff too, and we're all doing our best. And when you start to peel back and look behind the curtain there, it's like, wow, a lot of respect for all these men and women that do all that.
Motive matters a lot, right? We'll never achieve perfection. We'll never get to the point where our taxpayers don't legitimately have something to complain about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we stop hearing complaints, that probably doesn't mean there isn't anything to complain about. Maybe that means people have given up on trying to affect any kind of change. And so, we should respond to complaints positively. And what I want people to really believe about the city of Bastrop is, there are no weird agendas. We're only trying to respond and serve, and absolutely hold us accountable for getting that done. And the way we equip you to holding us accountable is we're gonna give you just loads of information, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it. If I could do just a quick appeal to people. You got to plug in too. Citizen has to plug in too. We do our best, push stuff, but you can be the ostrich with the head in the sand, and then wake up and say, well, nobody told me about that. So find a way. And here's something interesting. I think people would be interested to hear is if you find a way to get in touch with us. Might be a Facebook comment, an email to just one person, whatever. I think people would be shocked to know how far their message weaves through City Hall sometimes. One person might say something on Facebook that it's like, that's kind of a thought-provoking question, and I'll take it straight to you, and you'll take it to the mayor. And people, I think, may underestimate the influence they can have on City Hall.
That's well said. We do pay attention.
Pay big attention. It's almost,
right.
You might have a big project that you're working on that has been months long, but then one comment will ding on the Facebook, and it's like everybody stop everything. It's like, whoa, good question.
I don't know everything, but it's interesting how often I receive a criticism that, Paul, you just don't know everything about what's going on in your organization. Okay, well, maybe, but try me.
Yeah.
Right? And or people, you don't know what people are saying. Okay, well, let's test that. Chances are I have a sense.
Yeah.
And so, and you, Rebecca, others, you keep your ears open. And like you just said, when you hear something that you think is relevant, you don't sit on it. So thank you for that.
No, that sort of internal thing, it's working, it's thriving. And people plug in, find your way. If you don't like the web, there's other ways. But come to council meeting, come talk at citizen comments. But your message, it gets heard. People don't just put the comments in the the comment box and leave them in there.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Colin, thank you so much for season 1.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, and looking forward to season 2. Cece, thank you very much for your quality editing of the product. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone.